Well, I'm sure by now everyone knows that this is indeed Jerry Butler once again, and I'm still here at the Galactic convention. And you know, I already have Joe FEX on tape, but he was just so phenomenal and has so much information to share with us that I just want to get him again. Now, Joe, you seem to be very well versed in UFOs, Bigfoot sightings, just all types of paranormal things that just excites me to the max. Could you tell me exactly what it is that you do other than just rest, dress, and look like Johnny Depp?
Well, primarily, I engage in study, research assistance for a network of various different people in various different fields. I specialize in the retrieval of antiquities and artifacts that predate modern public dissemination and knowledge of UFOs, Bigfoot, water monsters, whatever, Phantom Panthers. I do a lot of Sasquatch, UFO, and Phantom Panther work. I write articles for Fate magazine and several other publications.
What is that magazine again?
Fate magazine.
Spell that, please.
F-A-T-E.
Uh-huh.
Got a copy of it right here.
Yeah, let me take a look at that. Fate magazine. Where can that be found at?
You can pick it up on your newsstand, but your best on the newsstand it's $5.95. Your best bet is to order it directly. You can go to fatemag.com.
Okay, F-A-T-E.
F-A-T-E-M-A-G.com.
Okay.
And you can get a subscription from 6 months to 2 years.
Uh-huh.
It's a bi-monthly magazine.
What is in this magazine? What can one expect to find in it?
If you have any interest in well, pretty much like Apex Research, if it's paranormal, abnormal, if it's odd, natural and unnatural phenomena, they cover the whole spectrum. And it's been an extremely popular magazine. It was first established in 1947. And
during the Roswell era.
Right. It actually began. The first cover story was Kenneth Arnold sighting, which pretty much introduced the public to the UFO flying saucer phenomenon and started the whole shebang. But anyway, Ray Palmer, famous publisher, used to publish a lot of the old fiction pulps. After the Kenneth Arnold sighting, he met with Arnold and he designed this new magazine that would cover all sorts of paranormal things that people had interest in, but no one really publicly discussed. And it was the first publication that was put out there in the public that really familiarized people with different forms of phenomena and the fact that for personal individuals of experience, they could read this magazine for the first time. They could see an avenue that would confirm that they're not the only ones that have these types of experiences and that there are many other people out there.
Tell me about some Bigfoot. Well, first of all, what is this picture as I pan over here? What is this picture I'm looking at right here?
This photo right here is a close-up of an original photo that I have. It's kind of a complex issue or area of study, but it involves the Hollow Earth, 1920s UFOs, military operations, and Rear Admiral Richard E. Byrd, who founded the Little America base. This tower here is part of the base. And right here, let me show you the full photo so they can see where that little piece of it comes from. But this photograph
you just leave it laying right down there, and I'll get it.
Several years back, I had discovered, and there's an article in Fate magazine a couple of months ago about this. Several years ago, I had discovered sealed in a frame 2 photographic documents, 8x10s, of an Antarctic expedition. One was a photo of a bunch of men digging out a plane, a prototype plane, which turned out to be the Ford Motor Triplane designed for this expedition.
Who mailed this to you? Was it anonymous?
No, I have a large network. I used to deal a lot in antiquities, and I'm somewhat of an expert. I used to do research and writing for Krause Publications, and they publish collectibles.
Which publications is that?
Krause.
Krause.
And they have the corner on the market on the publications of collectibles, antiquities, valuable artifacts, and things of this nature. But anyway, through the years of doing that kind of work, I have achieved a very large global network of people that deal in photographs and other ancient antiquities, stereo views, newspapers, what they call ephemera, paper antiquities. And occasionally these gentlemen, when they come across something that I've alerted them that I'm curious about, They give me a call and they describe what they have and they send me a digital of it. And if I like it, if it looks like something that could be useful in paranormal phenomena as a document, then I purchase it from them. This particular photo, I wasn't sure what I was looking at when I received it. And when we opened the frame, turns out, long story short, both photos came directly from this Antarctic expedition and were once in the possession of Rear Admiral Richard E. Byrd. This photo that you're looking at right now was in Byrd's book, Little America, about the first expedition, 1927 and 1930, when this base was established.
Well, wait a minute. For all of those who may not know, who is Richard E. Byrd?
Rear Admiral Richard E. Byrd was most famous. He was an explorer in the 20s and 30s, and he was most famous for his military operations and this landmark historical event of the Little America base. Was the first base established in Antarctica in which the party members didn't freeze to death. They had figured out that if they dug underground and got out of the wind chill, which sometimes exceeds 90 below, that they could survive out there and have a functioning scientific base, which later led to military bases both in the North and South Pole. Byrd, when he came back in 1930 from this first expedition, on live radio, this is pre-television, he had made some cryptic statements about the most important discovery that had been ever discovered in the history of mankind. He had stated that a new land and a new people had been discovered, and then he never spoke another word about it. This gave rise, years later, to much speculation of UFO contacts and rumors of a hollow Earth and the discovery of such a location and such an anomaly during the Byrd expedition as they were flying and charting Antarctica for the first time. Up until this photo was discovered, there was no evidence whatsoever, physical evidence or documents that would support these theories or Byrd's cryptic statements. This document is pretty much it. Basically, Byrd had smuggled the photo away from the Office of Naval Intelligence, which was the precursor to the CIA, and they had been around since the Civil War, and sealed them in frames, kept them in his possession. Ultimately, he died, and these framed photos that were sealed bounced around who knows where. They ultimately end up in the hands of an antique dealer. The antique dealer says, I've got some, I inform these guys that I'm always interested in scientific photos or expedition photos of any kind. So he calls me up and he says, I got 2 photos. They're somewhere in an Arctic region. I don't know if it's the North Pole or the South Pole, but they look pretty old. He dated them around the 20s and 30s. Sent me digitals. I noticed the objects in the sky, and I said, okay, then sure, I'll buy these photos. And for $45, I think.
What objects in the sky?
We have 1, 2, 3, 4 discs over the base.
Wow.
And then we have a whole multitude of pairs of lights like this one and one over here. But we have a lot of lights in the background that we can't really say are UFOs because it's not close enough to even be able to analyze.
Mm-hmm.
These are distinctly aerial anomaly. Those are close enough.
Point that out again.
But all of these little large globs of light in the sky don't really match what we have in other photographic. Like that's a star,
mm-hmm.
which is greatly different from these other types of blobs of light.
Okay.
Well, anyway, when Byrd published his Little America book about the expedition, which at the time, it was like going to the moon. It was the last frontier. That photo appears, and that photo has nothing in the background. The stars and everything is just blacked out. It's all black. Looking at this original photograph, what we're looking at is what was censored out of the book that was published and the photo that was released. And so we assume that Byrd kept these things in his possession. He eventually died, probably ended up sold in an estate liquidation, and this is where a lot of antique dealers also purchase their inventories. And who knows, like I said, where it's been and how far it had traveled. But it ultimately ended up in my hands, and when we opened up these photos and broke those seals, on the backs of them, lo and behold, they were stamped by Richard Byrd in Antarctica.
Hold 1 second, Joe, because I'm going to do another clip on you so that we can get a continuation on this. Just stand right there. Thank you so much.